Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Teamwork a Better Way podcast. I'm Christian Napier, and I'm joined by the man in royal purple, Spencer Horn. Spencer, how are you doing today?
Fabulous, Christian. Good to be with you. Always great to see you. I'm lucky to be awake today. I mean, I went. God, it was late last night, and had to get up at 4 a.m. to catch a early morning flight to get home this morning.
Oh my goodness, where were you traveling from? Where were you?
Just Bend, Oregon. You know, it's a short flight, but my plane left at 6, and so I had to. It's a little drive from Bend to the airport, but it's beautiful. You know, I have never been to Bend before. I've been all over Oregon, but for some reason, I've just not seen that town, and it's a beautiful place.
I've never been there either. I've never been there. So, what is it like? I mean, is it mountainous? Is it a lot of pine trees? Is it really green? What does it look like there, Ben?
Yeah, really interesting. So it's kind of a high desert, but there's a river, the Deschutes River, that runs through it. That's where the Bend gets its name, on this Bend River. And it is a beautiful little town, about 120,000 people, and all around it there are. It's like a juniper type of pine, and then just to the west are the Cascade Ranges, and there's these huge, beautiful mountains called the Three Sisters, and they're all over 10,000 feet. And so they're just, it's kind of like, being at Denver looking to the east at the Rockies, but these are the Cascades. And it's just a outdoor wonderland. I mean, there's so much to do there. It is, I mean, if you love mountain biking, if you love four-wheeling, if you love snowmobiling, skiing, just anything you can do outside, it's an amazing place.
Well, are you going to add the Three Sisters to your list of mountains to climb?
Well, at least one of them I'd like to climb, one of those sisters. But I was actually thinking about that, and it's such a luxury to have the time to climb a mountain. So
That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Well, unbeknownst to probably most people in the world, we actually had a holiday over the weekend here in Utah, celebrating Pioneer Day, the days that the pioneers arrived in the Salt Lake Valley. Did you do anything fun with your family over that holiday weekend?
I didn't. I was working on Saturday and presenting to an organization in Chicago for half the day, and then my wife and I just chilled, and we watched a movie at home while the fireworks were going on outside. Boring. What about you?
No, sounds great. Sounds great. We had a barbecue with some of our children who are in town, and an extended family as well. So that was nice. We just had a bunch of people over to the house, and it was enjoyable. All right. Last week, Spencer, we had a really interesting podcast on brand, our personal brands, and then we thought, well, maybe we should get a brand expert to come on this show
Absolutely.
and have a conversation, continue the conversation about brands. And so, Spencer, why don't you introduce our amazing guest that we have today?
Thank you, Christian, for sure. We have Ernie Harker today, and he is a rising star in the public speaking circuit. Part of the National Speakers Association, and met him not long ago, and so impressed with him. He's just incredible energy, just great experience, and just an incredible personality. And he's got an uncommon approach to brand development. His 29-year career as an illustrator, writer, designer, creative director, and video producer, actor. I didn't know you were an actor, Ernie. I can't wait to hear about that. And marketing executive gives him, some rare insights into how brands are built and how they are really benefiting an organization, hurting an organization, and how they fail. And so he recently wrote this book called Your Brand Sucks, which is the theme of today. I thought it was so great. Your brand sucks. And hopefully it tweaked a few people. But it's a must-have marketing bestseller that provides new insights into why most companies get branding wrong and what they can do to get it right, which I am so excited to hear about. So really buckle up. We're going to have some fun. Let me bring Ernie right on the show here. There he is. And welcome, Ernie. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me, you guys. This is going to be awesome.
So, Ernie, it's awesome to have you. So here's what I want to know. What are the biggest mistakes that organizations get that cause their brand to suck?
Thank you for asking that question. What a great setup. Here's the challenge. Most businesses, when they first start up, they think, we need a business card and a website. And so they start thinking about logos and websites right off the bat without really understanding the design choices they're making are actually going to influence the brand a certain direction. Like, for example, easy, my favorite color is red. And so I'm going to put red into my brand about maybe it's a kitten baby bath, product. It's like red will probably not be a great color to go with a kitten baby bath product. You probably want something softer, more gentle, where red is an aggressive color. But anyway, most people get branding wrong because they approach it as a graphic design exercise instead of a strategy that communicates their unique difference to a very specific audience, very intentionally.
So give us an example of that. I mean, I know you've worked on some famous brands. Certainly out here in the West of the United States, there's a brand, Maverick, that many of us are familiar with. Maybe we have people that listen all over the world, Ernie, and so they may not be familiar with that, but it is a C-store brand. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. So yeah, Maverick is a convenience store chain, and talk about an unremarkable business model. Like in this industry, you sell every convenience store sells 90+% of the same products the other guy sells. So talk about a need to differentiate in the marketplace. You absolutely have to give a customer a reason to choose your Snickers and your Coca-Cola versus the other guy's Snickers and Coca-Cola. So if you've got an option at every corner, it seems like, why would somebody choose you? What, your gas prices are lower? Which means if your gas prices are lower, you're going to make less money.
So this is really interesting. There's actually a C brand that I love that I've discovered recently. My daughter had encouraged me to go, but I was just driving through Texas with my son on the way from
Don't tell
Salt
me
Lake.
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's.
Don't tell me Buc-ee's.
But here's why. They actually sell the Coke and everything that you're talking about for less, so they don't make their money on that because they have their own brand, Buc-ee's Nuggets or whatever, whatever silliness that is. But here's why I'm so impressed with it. Because as I was driving 34 hours across the United States, there was not one bathroom that was clean except for Buc-ee's. To me, that was, they have like 94 urinal stalls in their bathrooms, and I was like, every one of them was clean. To me, that was a non-sucky brand.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So here's what's crazy about Buc-ee's. And I've been to Buc-ee's multiple times. I became friends with Don Wozniak, the one of the founders, because I had to know what in the world was going on. Now, I'm going to paint a picture of Buc-ee's for you. Most convenience stores across the country, you might have 8 to 12 fueling stations where you can pull up, you pull the handle out, and you start filling up your car with gas. Buc-ee's, their normal stores, have nearly 100 of these filling stations.
Yeah,
and they don't
Christian.
allow truckers to come. This is for consumers. Right. This is for consumers. And I'm like, okay, I can imagine. So I've actually talked to Don. I said, Don, I would have loved to have been in the boardroom when you guys were discussing this idea. So here's what we're going to do, guys. Most convenience stores have like 10 to 12 fueling things, maybe 16 if they're big. Let's do 100. I can imagine the investors going, that is overkill. That's ridiculous. You'll never be able to get the volume of customers to fill up and utilize all those fueling stations. Oh, and here's what else they're going to do. Those convenience stores are usually about 2,000 to 3,000 square feet. We're going to triple it or quadruple it. Now we have real estate that is like very expensive real estate, off the freeway real estate, that now we have to sell. How can you sell? And then what we're going to do, instead of having 2 bathrooms per gender, we're going to have like you said, like 16 to 30. And it's like, okay, dude, you're just dream world now. You are in dream world, because this is not just an advancement in convenience store experience. This is like going to Mars instead of the moon. Like way harder, way bigger. But they did it because they're audacious. And we love them because they're audacious.
Bucky the Beaver, Christian. Sorry, I just had to put that in there. But
he's awesome.
Oh, I think that's
Company.
fantastic. But you've got to continue the story. I mean, because okay, so they've got these massive. This is their differentiator, right? They've got 100 pumps. They got 30 urinals. They've got 12,000 square foot stores.
Yeah,
that's the differentiator. What's the impact of that? You know, because it does buck the conventional wisdom.
Pun intended or not?
Yeah, he totally
it was clearly unintended.
So here's the thing: we as humans, we love to hang out with people that we love. There's an attraction, and we choose people based on their personality, and we spend time with people based on their personalities. So we choose to do business with people based on their personalities as well. And we don't want to be with boring people. We don't want to hang out with boring people. We want to go all out with like a really cool and interesting personality. So when Buc-ee's comes out with an experience that is unlike anything else, we are attracted to it. We are drawn to it. It gives us a reason to go get my same products. You know, I can get my same Cheetos and Snickers and Coca-Cola at any place. But the reason I go to Buc-ee's is because of the experience that they have intentionally designed and architected to make me feel different when I go in. I go in, I go, this is like freaking Disneyland for convenience.
Yeah, because there's a beaver walking around, and you can get beaver underwear.
Yes, you can. You can get beaver branded underwear. Buc-ee's branded underwear. And they sell smokers like grills out there.
Oh yeah, I mean, what are those like? What are those big coolers that they have? And what are those
like
called?
Yeti coolers?
Those big coolers.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a Costco. It's unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah, but the big thing about their brand is they have developed something that differentiates them from everybody else, and that's one of the secrets of brand development.
So go back to what we get wrong. I mean, what I heard you say is we start off with something that we like. We start off with maybe a design feature, and we build a brand around that. And you were going down the road, and I steered you away. I apologize. But you were starting to talk about targeting a specific market. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
You betcha. So oftentimes we as business owners, we develop things that we like personally. And this is especially wrong if we are not the customer. So I use a fishing metaphor quite a bit, because if you go fishing, any good fisherman will say you need to know exactly what fish you're going after so that you can get the right bait and go to the right bodies of water where they swim. So here's my experience. My dad, he's an old dude, he's in his 80s, and he wanted to tie flies, and he wanted to go fly fishing. I mean, he became a fly fisherman. I found myself on the Grays River in Wyoming, which is like world-class fly fishing. So I grab his rod, and then I grab his little box of fuzzy things with hooks on them, and I am going to be a fly fisherman, and I'm going to pull all these fish out of the river. So I tie some flies onto my string or my lead, and I'm out there I'm like river runs through it. I'm like, beautiful morning, I'm fishing. And guess what? Nothing's biting. No bites. Not a single. And so I conclude there's no fish in this water because I'm an awesome fisherman and I am working really, really hard. And I try a different bait and I fish with it and I'm fishing and I'm moving around the river and I'm fishing. No bites. The problem is, and this is what we do is in marketing all the time, whether you're a personal brand or a company brand, we forget about our audience and what they like, what they want. In fact, Bruce Sterkel, brilliant branding guy, also a speaker, he wrote a book called It's All About Them. It's all about them, which is true. What marketing message and what brand appearance and package is attractive to your customer? what bait is attractive to the fish. And you need to know what the fish are, or your customers are, so you can find the right bait. And then you got to go find out where they are swimming. What media channels do they subscribe to? Do they watch the news? Do they read the paper? Are they on? Do they follow influencers on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever? If you know who your customers are, you can fashion the right bait to attract them, and then be where they are.
Wow. Well, thanks for the bumper there. I love the fish analogy because I did a lot of fishing when I was younger with my grandfather, and uh, and I think the one thing that you mentioned that is quite important as well is you have to know what kind of fish you want, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
so doesn't need good if I have bait and tackle that's set up for bass if I'm fishing for trout,
Yeah.
and vice versa. But there are a lot of different kinds of fish, and sometimes we get a little confused as leaders, as business owners, or as executives, thinking that we have to go after all the fish.
Yep.
So how do you decide which fish you want to get your tackle ready for? Because I could be fishing for trout and end up catching carp, or
Yep.
they're I got
Right.
trout and walleye and largemouth bass and smallmouth bass and perch and all kinds of different fish out there, and so catfish, uh,
Yep.
but maybe I'm a trout guy, and so I need to be fishing for trout where trout live, right?
Yeah. So your question is, how do you determine what fish or what your customer is? Who will you target? And so, um, first of all, let me explain why that's important. Have you ever given a gift to a couple, like a Christmas gift to a couple? Okay, are they both happy? Not very often. Well, you give them a gift certificate to a steakhouse. And the guy's going, right on, dude. Got the best gift ever. And she's going, well, I don't eat meat. I'm trying to eat salad. So this is really a gift for you. Or somebody gives a gift of like some wall hanging. And the guy's going, this was a complete waste. This was a bust for me. And she's going, this is the best couple's gift ever. And so it's the same thing when we market to a customer. Not everything is attractive equally to everyone. What's attractive to my 12-year-old son, what he finds really interesting, I do not. He laughs like crazy at TikTok videos that I'm like, I don't even understand why you're laughing. So in order to fashion a bait, fashion a marketing message, a product, a message, right, to my son, you would have to use language, visuals, maybe an endorsement that would be highly attractive to him that would completely miss me. I wouldn't even care. Billy who? Billy Irish? Is she Irish? Is that why she's a big deal? But he's like, that's like a household name. To me, it's like, I don't know who it is. I don't listen to that stuff. So that's knowing who your customer is allows you to fashion that right information. So how do you find your customer? The biggest trick is, or the biggest tip is, where are most of your customers coming from? What type of person, male, female, age range, salary range, industry, all those kinds of things, who is most likely to appreciate your unique difference and product and be willing to pay for it? That's your demographic. So for example, in the convenience store industry, we call that person Bubba. Bubba is somebody, because think about this, not all customers are created equal. If you've got a guy in a suit and he's got to fill up his Mercedes with gas, he's probably going to get in, grab a pack of gum, maybe a Diet Coke, and he's going to be on his way. Now contrast that to somebody like Jim or Jose, and I don't mean to be racial at all in this, because basically what we're talking about is people who work with their hands. They drive trucks. What does that mean? They need fuel. They are not diet conscious. What does that mean? They like to buy food. They're thirsty. They're working in the sun. So a convenience store for them is ideal. They show up, they fill up their vehicle with fuel, they load up energy drinks, snacks, candy, maybe a breakfast item for lunch because they're driving to their next job. They grab something for lunch, maybe get a few energy drinks, and on the way home, they buy some beer. Now, that is a really good customer. And if I had $100 to spend on customer acquisition, why would I spend that $100 on mom? Mom is like, kids, don't eat another treat. The last treat, right? Or I'm just going to go in and out. And because if you've ever been a mom before, like if I'm as a dad, I've got the kids in the car. The last thing I want to do is stop at a gas station where they can get out and run around, because that's a nightmare trying to pull them back in and they're spilling stuff and breaking stuff. So it's like, don't focus on those people. Focus on your core. And here's the thing, you will always get tertiary. Sales and marketing are different. Market to a very defined customer base, sell to everyone. Everyone who's coming in to buy, we say yes. Yep, come on in. But we market to the people most likely to buy our product or service, not people who could buy our product or service.
That was for Jose.
Bueno, gracias.
No, I like that. Why not secondary, just tertiary? So let's transition to, we're talking a lot about a corporate brand. So what are the benefits of let's stay with that corporate brand for a second, but what does that strong brand do for a team of an organization, let's say?
So why invest in branding or what does an investment in branding do for the team, the employees, the management, stuff like that?
Right, that's it.
So here's the thing. In today's world, it's not like my dad's world. My dad did work to make money, and it didn't matter to him if he felt welcomed, if he felt loved or appreciated. There was none of that. Today, it's like people want to feel like they're contributing. They want to be a part of a culture that believes in what they believe. They want to stand for something. And so a brand, part of that brand is what it stands for, what its purpose is. And if that's not clearly articulated to the end customer, it certainly won't be articulated to the employee. And so what happens is employees go, hey, where do you work? Oh, I work for company XYZ. Oh my gosh, their products are awesome. That's the coolest brand ever. Now, what does that do for the employee? I want to stick around. I've got status because I work for a company that has a strong brand. Now imagine, hey, I work for company B. Oh, really? Sorry about that, dude. It's like, those guys suck. How long am I going to stay employed? Even if I'm highly valued in that industry or that company, I am embarrassed to tell people I work for a brand that isn't attractive to its customer. So first part is there's a sense of pride and belonging to an organization that looks and feels the way you as an employee want to be viewed. Like Maverick. The Maverick convenience store chain is about high energy adventure. It's a really cool and kind of like Red Bull, right? So if someone said, hey, you work for Red Bull, people would go, oh, that's the coolest, that's a cool brand, right? Versus, I don't know, a drinking brand like, say, Nestea. Nestea is like, oh, that's a fun brand. Okay, whatever, but it's not cool. Gatorade would be kind of that's kind of a cool brand. You're an athlete. You're some athletically minded. So where you work, what business you're in, reflects your brand and your personality to your friends and associates.
That's really interesting, Ernie. I, I I experienced that firsthand, not as an employee, but as a consultant, right? So I do a lot of
Okay.
work with the International Olympic Committee. Anytime
Okay.
anybody hears anything about Olympic Games, they think that's the coolest thing ever. And I have to say, I feel very, very fortunate and very honored to work with the International Olympic Committee and to work with that brand. That
Mhm.
being said, uh, there are event organizers that sometimes it's very difficult environment, and so uh, even though you might be very proud of to be associated with the brand because it gives yourself a little bit of an ego boost. It's like, yeah, I work for the Olympic Games, and it sounds amazing. Sometimes the corporate culture is not aligned with this brand,
Yeah. Yeah.
and and that causes problems because then you get people who come in very, very excited to work there and then become disillusioned because they're
Yeah.
like, well, I thought this represented A and I'm
Yeah.
experiencing B.
Yeah, there's some
So
Yeah.
how
dissonance
do
there,
I,
right?
Yeah.
yeah. And maybe this is a question for you as well, Spencer, is like, what do we do to get better alignment of our corporate brand and our company culture? Because
Yeah.
it's not always aligned.
Oh, that's such a great point, and I just want to share a story, Ernie, and maybe you can speak to
Yeah.
that. But I
Please.
remember at Southwest Airlines, which is here in the United States, that's it's a regional airline that is quite popular, and they have a very strong brand. I mean, fun environment, great place to work.
Mhm.
When they post a job, they get hundreds, sometimes thousands of applicants,
Yeah.
and they had hired one time a director of IT. Apparently, they found this person who had incredible, just all the skills that they were looking for. However, what happened is the I think it was the chief human resource officer checked in with them who hired him and said, how was your first day? It's like, oh man, uh, good, except for everyone keeps stopping to talk to me and welcome me here. All of a sudden red flags go up because here's the
Yeah.
thing: if the word gets out that this grumpy guy he doesn't want to be talked to, which is antithetical to the Southwest brand, that word
Mhm.
gets out, they're not going to have thousands of applicants. They fired him the next day
Yeah.
because not congruent with the brand. Ernie, what say
Mhm.
you?
Dude, that is so right on. And what's interesting oftentimes is organizations think that branding is an external exercise. It's an external thing. We need to let our or try to get our customers to think about us on this painted facade versus who we are. Organizations need to drink the Kool-Aid they're selling. And the way to do that is to be very intentional about onboarding brand education. So when you come on board, let me tell you about Company X's brand. This is where we started. This is what we believe in. These are our values, and this is how we express those values. Now, if this is not part of who you think you are, you probably shouldn't be here. We don't pretend to be something we're not on the outside, nor should we expect you as an employee to pretend to be something you're not to fit in here. You won't be happy. You won't be happy, you won't feel comfortable. And so what I'm saying is organizations need to develop a brand education platform for their employees. It's inward facing. And by the way, I went to Monster, the bottling company, or the brand for the energy drinks. I went to their headquarters in California before they brought any furniture in. By the way, the furniture is super cool. Before they brought any furniture in, they had it was like maybe 4 or 5 levels of concrete flooring. All right, concrete flooring. They brought in motorcycle riders that would burn donuts and spirals all over the concrete floor. Okay, and they go up to the next level, and then they put in the furniture. And so as you're walking around, and then they obviously after they did the burnouts on the concrete, they sealed it, and the flooring and the concrete burnouts became part of their interior design, but it reflected their brand. They said, we are branded internally as well as externally. So they have signage, they have like cool textures and images and stuff to reinforce the brand on the inside so that it becomes easier to express it on the outside.
Yeah, I love that. What I was doing in Bend is I was actually working with a brand called Hum Kombucha. I don't know if you've heard of Hum.
Okay.
And but one of the things that they do to strengthen that internally, that brand internally, is they're two founders, and they've kind of stepped back, so they're not managing everything day to day, but they're part of the brand, that just the feel of the organization and what it stood for. They have the founders meet with every new employee. So it's like you're part of a cohort when you're new,
Wow.
and they do it for 3 weeks. They have workshops, kind of like their little leadership cohort, but they do,
Yeah.
and you get to meet with the founder as a brand new employee, so you get to have that connection to
Yeah.
that person. So that's one of the ways that they infuse that brand to create that strong identity internally in that
But doesn't that
organization.
take away time from the very important job that the CEO and the founder has to do?
That is the job that they have to do. I mean, obviously,
Well,
there's
don't they have more important things than wasting time with all these new employees? You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? You know what I'm driving at?
yeah, the long term viability of that company is all it has to do with.
Yeah. I wonder how many CEOs and presidents meet with employees, like not just stand in front of them and say, "Hey, welcome to the team. Hey, I got an important business meeting to go to. I'm going to go and play golf with my buddies. So see you later." Versus how many of them are actually sitting down with each one of them, going, "Hey, tell me about your family. Tell me what inspires you. Why are you here? We're glad to have you here." Wow.
So that's really where this relates to team performance. Well, what
Mhm.
I'd like to transition to is talk a little bit about your personal brand. What is your experience with personal branding, and how does that connect to what we're talking about here?
Awesome. Yeah, my personal brand, it's kind of interesting because as I've been helping other businesses define theirs, it's it's like the cobbler's sons have no shoes. It's like I didn't realize, I didn't focus intentionally on my brand until I became independent again. So 4 years ago, I left Maverick as their executive director of marketing. For 8 years, I was there. But before that, I worked for 15 years with my own company. 10 of those was Maverick was one of my clients. So I've been with Maverick for a long time, but I'm no longer there. When I left and I was going to do some consulting and speaking and stuff like that, I became acutely aware of my personal brand and what that meant. And so what I had to do is, just like I approach it the same way I would with any other company. One is, what makes me unique? What makes me special? It's not my bald head, because Spencer, you got the same haircut I do. Boom. Yeah. So we got the same haircuts. So that can't be my thing. Oh, the bald guy. What I found and people would tell me, "Ernie, dude, you're like 10 cans of Red Bull shaken up and spilled out all over the place." My energy level and my positivity was my brand. And so how do I represent that visually to somebody? Well, one of the things that I think does that is like a spark, something that ignites. It's something small, but it has a lot of power in it. And so I used my nickname, Earnburn, that my twin brother gave me years ago. And I thought, what if I created a spark or fire motif to my brand? And red is a great color for me because it is energy. It is powerful. It is aggressive, which is a lot like my own personality. And so I incorporated this positive energy into a visual, flammable icon. So you can see my logo here. It's the flaming E, to remind people about the energy that Earnburn brings. So first of all, is to find out what is it about you as a person. We're talking about personal branding. What is about you that's so different and so unique? And then the visual and verbal language to express that, you need to find, what elements can I find? What can I borrow? What fonts, colors, textures, imagery, what can I do to represent that brand accurately to my audience so they go, "Dude, I know exactly what you're about." I love your soundtrack. I could jam to it all day.
Thank you.
Well, I love what you've been telling us here, Ernie. I find it completely fascinating. You know, as a person who's normally an introvert, uh, when I hear your experience, I get a little bit gun shy. Maybe I'm a little bit reticent because I think to myself, well, okay, uh, personal brand, fine, but it seems a little bit self-promoting, or
Mhm.
you know. It's, you know, it sounds like it's a little bit kind of egocentric, and that's not my thing, you know. So how can I create a personal brand, uh, and in the context of team performance? You know, if I'm a leader of a of a business, or I'm a leader of a team, and my company's got its brand, but I am my own unique person as
Yeah.
well. How do I do that and overcome these feelings of, oh, you know, I'm just, I'm a little bit shy about doing this because I don't want to be viewed as a self promoter.
And do I have to have
Right.
a logo to be part of my brand?
Right. Uh, you don't. Obviously. If you're an employee, you're a manager. I think it's important to note that you may not be working for that company forever, and especially today, uh, you it's not uncommon for you to jump around 3 to 5 years to a different organization. So, what is it that you want people to say or think about you that is going to be part of your personal brand? Now, for example, um, brands often will go, my brand is whatever people think about me. It's a secondary reaction to something that I'm not intentionally doing. Uh, that's my brand. Well, you're right. That is your brand. But what a poor misuse of stewardship. You're responsible for it. You just basically let it graze wherever it wanted to go. And it may not be grazing in the right pastures. So be a little more conscientious. So, for example, if you're a manager or an employee, you go, what do I want my peers to think or feel about me? And if you intentionally write it out, if I'm an employee, I want my managers and my co-workers to think this guy's probably one of the hardest working and smartest guys in the organization. Now, how do I, if that's what I want to have them think, what do I do to represent that brand, to be true to that brand? Well, if I want to be known as the hardest working guy, I'm probably going to be here before everybody else is, and I'll probably stay later than everybody else is. That's proof that I've been here. Now, you don't have to do anything between the time you show up and the time you leave for people to think that you're working hard because you're working long hours. So that's part one. Part two is like, I have to research and really think deeply about my contribution to the company so that I can invest my best ideas and my best work for my employees, if I'm a manager, and my coworkers. But if you don't define what it is that you want people to think and feel about you, how will you make the choices intentionally to get them to feel and think that way? It has nothing to do with what you're, if you have a logo. But I tell you what, it does. How you dress does make a very, very big difference. If you want people to think highly of you, you can't come in all schlumpy and like dirty or worn. Well, these jeans make me feel comfortable, and I love these jeans. Well, guess what? People are going to think about you. Oh, you're the guy that's comfortable at the expense of professional. If that's what you want, you're doing a great job. But don't be in a package that doesn't represent what you want to be. If you want to be professional and high energy or super positive, dress the part so that it makes it easy for us to see that. So so personal branding, I think, is about just like corporate branding. What do you want to be known for? And then put into action those tactics or those skills that will bring those evidences to light. So people will say, "Oh my gosh, Ernie, he's one of the hardest working guys we've got because he seems to be always working on projects and he's here first and he's the last to leave." But or it's like, Ernie's the funniest. He makes things fun. He's the funnest guy we have here. I don't care what kind of contribution he makes financially, dude. He's just positive. And so what do you do to make someone feel like you're the positive guy? You talk about them. You research on how to do that. You read How to Win Friends and Influence People. You become a master of those things.
Well, you said a couple things that are, and you're all of those things. But what's interesting is you said, people will associate with a brand, and other people will associate with that, and so that becomes part of your identity that either repels or reinforces your commitment to the organization, to the team, is what I heard. And the same thing is true with you working with a leader. You want to work with someone that represents your ideals. I've talked a lot about a mentor of mine, Kelvin Cullimore, still alive, great leader, and he taught me so much. But I identify with his servant leadership, with his hardworking commitment and care for others, and always was, always thinking about what he did and how that impacted other people. I wanted to be associated with that. And so in today's world, we're looking for values, we're looking for brands, we're looking for environments where we feel at home, where we feel comfortable, where we feel validated, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah. You kind of you're drawn to brands that are similar to your personalities. Brands aren't about the company. The brands are about you. The reason you buy a brand is because you want others to know about your values and your personality. There are how many different makes and models of cars? If we were buying cars for functionality, there'd be one brand of pickup, one kind of economy car, one kind of luxury car, one kind of SUV. It's because all I need is to get from point A to point B with a pickup, because I got to bring something. Well, why are there like 30 different or 50 different make and models of pickups? It's because they represent the utility in a brand personality that people want to be associated with. That's why. It's not, they convince themselves it's because of the functionality. Well, the Dodge 3500 is way better than the Ford 350. It's like, well, it probably does the same job, with very, very little differences. But the Dodge personality and the Ford personality are different. And so Android or iPhone, they do the same things. You can call people up. The functionality is the same. There's different ways of doing it, but you can still call people up. You can still conference call. You can still do everything, do your schedules, calendars, everything, surf the net. But what do you want people to think about you in terms of what brand you have? So as an Apple user, I want people to think of me as creative. I want people to think of me as designy. I'm maybe a little more fluent. Whereas someone who buys Android says, I don't believe in fluff. I believe in functionality. See what I'm saying? And so I don't hang out with functional people. I hang out with creative people. That's my world. It's not engineers and I are like oil and water, but creative people, we get along great. And so it's an easy way to identify each other based on the brands that we surround ourselves with.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, I recently converted to iPhone from Android.
Oh my gosh.
I've been an Android user for a very, very long time. But the reason I converted was because my wife eventually converted to iPhone, and she just wanted to airdrop stuff or make it really easy to share things. And I actually went and bought a new Android phone, and she about bit my head off. She said, "No, you're not. You're going to take that thing back, and you're getting an iPhone." So I didn't do it because I identify with iPhone people. I did it to just keep my wife happy.
Yeah, you were forced into a culture, dude. You were forced into a culture of some.
That's right. That's a good team, though. Sometimes we gotta take one for the team. It's not all about right. Me and my Android.
Yeah.
That's right.
I wonder what the price difference was.
Well, the iPhone was marginally more expensive than the Android phone, but I was looking for a high-end Android phone, but that's neither here nor there. Well, we're up against it here, Ernie. Gosh, we could have this
Dang it.
conversation for hours. But we've got some time constraints here. That being said, it's been a joy having you on with us today, Ernie.
Thank you.
If people want to learn more about the work that you do to help companies define their brands, to create strategies that allow them to connect to their customers as well as their employees, what's the best way for them to reach out and to get in touch with you?
There's two ways. Find me on LinkedIn. It's Ernie Harker. There are not very many Ernie Harkers. Just don't look for Bernie Parker, because that guy always has my dinner reservation. He's always getting my dinner reservation. So I have to go up and say, did you say Bernie Parker? Yeah, that's Ernie Harker. That's me. So find ernieharker.com. And then the second one is just go to LinkedIn. You'll find me on Ernie Harker LinkedIn. There's not very many of us. Okay?
All right, fantastic, Ernie. Thank you very much. We'll be looking you up right away. Spencer, if people want to learn more about the work that you're doing with teams and how you can help them develop high-performing teams, what's the best way for them to reach out and contact you?
Hey, I fixed those broken teams, man. That is Altium Leadership, Altium leadership.com. And you have a great tool to help build brand, Christian. Tell us just briefly about that.
Well, what we do is help people crowdsource their story. So, we spend a lot of time and effort trying to figure out our own story and our own brand, but ultimately, people put a lot of faith in customers, and so we provide a way for people to get feedback from their customers in a natural, conversational way. And you can find out
Christian,
more about
that
us.
was awesome. Christian, I got to just interrupt you real quick, just because you didn't ask me to do this. But that Reconto software is so slick. It is so cool. It's so easy to get. This is not paid advertising, by the way. Christian did not know I was going to say this, but it is so important to get people visually to tell other people about your product and service. Nobody wants to hear it from you. And so it is so easy to go, hey, will you just do this quick video for me? And it's so hard getting someone to pull out their iPhone and go, now, what did you want me to say? But Christian, your software is like freaking genius in this industry. It makes it so easy.
Ernie, I've been telling people that for years now, and they're listening now.
Oh, good. So sorry.
Well, thank you very much, both of you, for your very kind unpaid endorsements. I'll buy you a dinner. Let's do that. People can find
Bernie Parker.
Bernie Parker, the reservation for Bernie Parker. So you can come to my LinkedIn, Christian Napier, or you can visit us at our website, raconto.io. That's RAKONTO.io. Ernie and Spencer, it has been an absolute joy to have this conversation with both of you today. Listeners, please like and subscribe to our podcast, and we'll catch you again soon.